Welcome everyone to QPF, otherwise known as A Quiet Place for Friends, rebooting the series, and I'm with my co-host MamaMax.
Hello.
And we're joined by a very special guest. Colossal is lazy.
It's crazy, but how you doing?
That's awesome. Yeah. It's so nice
it's
to
lazy
have you
too,
here.
to be honest, but yeah.
How have you been? You're a bit tipsy, I hear.
Yeah, I'm like pretty drunk at the moment, but
it's great. It's a good place.
Fuck it. It's only a podcast.
Anyway,
it's not like I'm speaking to DJ Killer Keemstar, so don't need to stay on my toes.
We were going to talk about Max. If you'd want to introduce the topic, my friend.
Yes, sir. The topic is about betrayal.
Yeah, so I think we pretty much talk about betrayal in its many facets and kind of forms. And then we kind of have a section, Colossal, where we just kind of read comments, because we ask the audience to leave comments that we could, I guess, respond to. So I guess after we'll have about 2 or 3 comments from the previous video. I'll just kind of read them out, and you can give your opinion, and we kind of talk about that, right? But,
sure. Okay.
Betrayal. So I feel as if, obviously, it's something everyone goes through, and there are different scales, right? There are different kind of levels, how bad it can get. Some betrayals, being simply someone ratting you out in a test, ranging to something, say, your parents having an affair. So it has its huge ranges, right? And being a bystander of that can be quite enormous. So I think, Ollie, if you have any kind of personal experience of betrayal you wanted to talk about or discuss.
Well, let's talk about DJ Killer Keemstar.
I was going to...
And how he fucking snaked me recently.
The thing is, I was going to ask that, but I didn't know if you were comfortable. If you want to talk about that, that's
I'm fucking comfortable with anything, yeah.
Let's go.
Basically, he made a fucking, a tweet. It started with a tweet. Well, it started with a private conversation that me and him had about money. And it was a very casual conversation. I was not asking for more money, which is what he ended up trying to out me for. It was about having an even split between everyone on the Baited podcast. And I wasn't saying this should happen. I was trying to rationalize why I think it would be within the best interest for everyone long term. I'm not going to go into the reasons why I think that, because there are several, and we'll be here all night. But it was my opinion that me, Tommy, and Keemstar should get 33.3 whatever % each. Keemstar didn't like that, obviously disagreed with it, but it was just a disagreement. And I left the call, went to bed, told him I was going to bed, and he decided that he was going to go on Twitter and make up this story, essentially, and leave a lot of things out, and basically say, Colossal is crazy, ask for more money. Now, I know inadvertently, by default, I would have got an extra 3%. By the way, didn't even factor in for me that I was going to get an extra 3% by default. Doesn't matter. He also went to my Discord, tried to, and I am going to use the word manipulate, my friends and subscribers that I had done this, which obviously is not true. And that is pretty much why Keemstar betrayed me, backstabbed me. Now, he has apologized for it. He has got a lot of things wrong. He left a lot of things out. He did not explain everything. And I do feel whether he was intentionally manipulated or not, or accidentally manipulated it, still manipulation. So that, if you like, is an example of betrayal for me. Nothing new here. It's nothing new. But, I knew going into the Baited podcast that there was a very good chance that Keemstar would one day betray me in a similar sort of way. So I was very prepared for this. And I am culpable, if you like, for it. I knew what to expect. So, don't feel sorry for me or anything like that. I knew what to expect going into the Baited podcast. And it's kind of been rectified now. Keemstar has apologized, and we're doing the best we can to try and solve this problem and basically move on and continue the Baited podcast.
Right. I think
you wanted it on a scale 1 to 10 of what that betrayal is.
Yeah, go.
I don't know. 5 out of 10.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing which I'm really confused about is just the amount of clues or things that are on the table for Keemstar to then somehow, despite all those things on the table, he can make some kind of completely misinformed opinion. Like, first of all, you don't upload often. You haven't dedicated all your time to YouTube. You upload when you want to, meaning that the content that you release is more in the sense that you want to have meaningful videos rather than I want to shit out as much as I can and make the much money as I possibly can. And the fact that you already have 30%, as if 3% makes that much of a difference. And also, I'm kind of surprised in the first place that not all of you had an even split. I mean, considering, financial situations, it seems kind of reversed in the way you'd think it would be, right?
There are several reasons why I believe, as a lot of other people believe, that an even split would be the fairest thing. Now, what I've concluded is if everyone is happy with what they have, and by the way, Tommy is getting 20%, the lowest amount, he's very happy with that and doesn't want any more. So if everyone is happy with it, I don't think it really matters at the end of the day. It was very, very casual conversation. Obviously, no one's going to hear the conversation. It wasn't recorded or anything. But trust me, believe me when I say it was a very casual conversation.
Yeah.
About money.
Do you think he misinterpreted it? Or do you think he intentionally, knowing Keemstar, knowing the things...
Absolutely.
Right.
He totally blew everything out of proportion in every single way. Now, I understand he was sick. And when you're sick, Keemstar is a very impulsive fucking person at the best of times.
Yeah.
So factor in the fact that he is fucking ill in the fucking head, he just went mental. He literally went insane.
Yeah, and that's awful for him to talk about that.
That's not excusing him in any way for what he did. But he has apologized. It is a Keemstar apology, trademark. But an apology nonetheless.
Yeah, and the fact he can apologize is quite significant.
For Keemstar, yeah. In fairness. But guess we got to try and do our best to move forward with it. And I quite frankly, I don't want to waste any more time on trying to move forward. Let's just fucking do it.
Yeah, instead of just talking, just, do the walking.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you think that there's a possible chance that in the near future, however, that something like this could happen again, which would definitely cause 100%. The fallout? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But I guess you're prepared for that.
Obviously, there's got to be some point where you say enough is enough.
Yeah.
Fuck this. And maybe it is going to be this time. Maybe it is.
You just have to see how the chemistry works out in the future, I guess.
Yeah. It's all dependent on the situation, and I can't give you an answer whether the beta podcast is going to end or has it already ended. I don't know.
Yeah.
And if this happens in the future, I think there's a very good chance that it could. If I walk then or stay then. It's very difficult for me to predict what's going to happen. But we just hope for the best, don't we, I think.
And look, I guess everyone in the comments, all the fans are really hoping that it stays, but I think what a lot of community has is a lot of respect to you in the sense you have that autonomy that if you don't like it, you're going to leave despite whatever finances or whatever kind of monetary gain you'd lose. You're your own person, and I think a lot of people really respect that about you and how you manage and deal with betrayal, and in the sense that you don't sell out, right? Maybe it's selfish thinking, but I have always done, when it comes to YouTube, which is a hobby for me, as I've said many times, not a job, I always do what I want to do, and not what the fans want. It's not about the fans for me. Obviously, I'm very grateful that they enjoy and watch the content and support me. But at the end of the day, Colossal is Crazy comes first. I've got to do what I feel is the right thing to do and what I want to do. Of course.
Otherwise, it's not really a hobby.
Yeah, it's not like you have to live up to that obligation because it is a hobby. It's not like you're having to put the fans first because it's a hobby.
I don't put them first, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I will always put myself first. And maybe that sounds very selfish to say. But this is the reality. The fans are important. The subscribers are important. The followers are important. It sounds, there's no nice way to put this in a sentence. I'm more important.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's,
yeah.
I got to do what's right for me at the end of the day.
Yeah. And how would you say, like, in the sense, say someone has just been betrayed, and say it's on a large scale, how would you suggest for them to kind of move on from that? What's the kind of recovery process, seeing as, you're able to deal with that?
Difficult to answer, because it's very much dependent on the situation, isn't it? But it ultimately comes back to what I just said. Do what's right for you and do what you feel is right.
Yeah.
If you do what you want to do and what's best for you. Be selfish with it, absolutely, because it's you, and you were the one that was betrayed.
Yeah, of course.
Do what you're happy with and what you're going to be happy with at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, Max, I was going to ask, did you have any kind of situation you wanted to talk about on the topic of betrayal? And
sorry, I was just getting lost in Colossal's voice. It's very nice. I can recall a few instances of some fans, I don't want to say using me, but it gets to the point where it's like, I want to be there for them, but some of them don't seem to understand that there's thousands of them and only one of me. And it's not... There are some instances where they have gone out of their way to get my attention by attacking me or trying to harm me. Not physically, of course, just...
making videos.
Through videos. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think if I can just say, the thing about you is that you have such a individualized and such a special and unique fan base, because you treat all of your subscribers, every video, you treat them with such love, right? I mean, you tell them that they're like family to you, that they're your friends, and people know your situation, how you were in an environment where you didn't have that, and you talk about a lot of the time how gracious you are that you have friends, all of them being your subscribers. So I guess they're naturally all wanting to know you and stuff, because a lot of your fans perhaps could be in the same situation, right? So that's hard for you, and the bigger you get, the harder that gets.
When you get to a certain level, and you have X amount of fans or followers or subscribers, it's impossible to communicate and stay in constant communication with all of them. And it's very self-destructive to think that you can do it. I've pretty much given up at this point to correspond. There used to be a time when I was making Call of Duty trolling videos that I would respond to every single YouTube comment that I got. Now, you're lucky if I respond to even a single one of them. The sheer amount is insane, and you can literally spend your entire life responding to everyone and still not respond to everyone. Yeah, that sounds a bit like a paradox, but it's true. There's always going to be someone else who wants to be in contact with you, who sends you an email, who sends you a tweet, who sends you a direct message, who whatever. You cannot speak with everyone. You cannot do the impossible. Just do the best you can and try and communicate as best as you can with the people that support your content.
And I think another huge thing is that what's sad, and I'm just going to be perfectly honest, I mean, some people this happens to, some people it doesn't, but the gradual dehumanization of how you react to comments. Like, I remember when I first opened my channel, and the first few hundred or so comments I got, I would seriously, take them in, and they would mean so much, and it'd make me stop and think. But what's sad is that, at least for me and many other YouTubers, is the bigger you get and whatever, the more comments you get, it comes to a point where you almost don't have that same kind of feeling towards the comments that are just as nice. Maybe that's just me, but
the reality is most people that consume YouTube and who actively use YouTube are idiots, unfortunately. When you see, if you go to my comment section or your comment section, most of the comments are going to be asinine memes and ridiculous overused jokes. The rest is going to be snide and hateful remarks to try and get your attention. That's what they want, attention. So I want to say a good 80 to 90%, if not more, of anyone's YouTube comment section is just dregs, and not even worth the time spent looking at them, let alone responding to them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there isn't a very good filter system, which is kind of fair enough, but to see the good 10% of them.
Yeah.
I would love to respond to all those 10% of comments.
Realistically,
that were really
you could.
good.
Yeah.
But you have to wade through thousands upon thousands just to find them, and you could spend your life doing it. And unfortunately, it's almost very self-destructive to do it, because whether you're someone who I'm not someone who really lets things get to me, but if you are, or even if you aren't, you can wade through these comments and just see negative comment.
It's really, like, it's come to the point sometimes.
Harambe meme, Alex is a stupid nigger or whatever. Just keep going through it over and over and over. And eventually you just go insane. Or you let it get to you. And so it's very self-destructive to do that. And I don't recommend it to anyone, really. That's the unfortunate situation that every YouTuber finds themselves in. And eventually they just say, fuck it. I can't do it. There's no point doing it. I don't want to do it. I don't enjoy doing it. So therefore, I'm not going to. Shame, but this is YouTube. This is the way it is. And we just have to accept that.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll just say my case. I was going to talk about, I guess, something a bit more personal. Like, I've been with my current girlfriend for 15, 16 months. And it's been great. And before I was in a relationship, ironically, with one of her old best friends, right? And, you know, it was an on and off thing, and it was kind of, you know, I put a lot in, she didn't really put anything in, she just more so talk, and I'd buy things, and I'd take her out and whatever, but she was just really cold-hearted, and she, just really, really didn't treat me, I guess, the way I'd want to be treated. Really unfair, and she'd kind of talk to other guys. And what sucks is I was in this situation where I wanted to break apart, but it's just, I can't. And so eventually what happened was, one day we're chatting and we're messaging on Facebook, and then I actually see who is now my current girlfriend. I see her in my, ex's recommended friend list, right? So then as a joke, I go over, because she looked kind of cute in a picture, and I comment, hey, what's cooking, good mama? Well, it's just something stupid, right? And she's been involved in this situation her whole life where she hasn't really been involved with guys so much. So she took that comment that was supposed to be, like, I forgot about the comment a day later, right? She remembered this comment for weeks. And then she tried adding me on Facebook, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So then we started talking on Facebook, and then it kind of went from there. But it's kind of this betrayed situation, this negative that turned into a positive, and now I've, never been happy. I've been with her for almost 16 months. So
it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's like killing two birds with one stone.
It really is.
You took something very negative and made it positive. That's always the best situation.
Yeah. And it's really, like, therapeutic as well. I mean, all that kind of post breaking up kind of, once you've been in a situation where all you've done is just give, it is so, I guess, different. It's so nice. It's so, it just mind-blowing when you go into this new situation where not only is there someone that's actually, like, putting stuff into you, but, you're feeling loved for the first time in years. And it's just some kind of epiphany that's like, what have I been doing this whole time? And you're so happy at this point. So yeah, it is like killing two birds with one stone. I think that's a really good way euphemism. I thought it'd be nice to just quickly read some comments, and I think I'll read maybe a few, and then we could kind of give our input on each one. I think this first comment, this is coming from our last video. This comment's coming from a guy called Happy Cat, and he says, this doesn't have anything to do with backstabbing, but I've just been I've been feeling really sad lately because my one friend, that is my best friend, never comes to hang out with me or talk to me, and he always goes to this other kid that is his best friend. I thought we were best friends, but I guess we aren't, and it just makes me feel like I am alone, and I don't have any best friends that have my back and want to be my friend. This might sound stupid and like some little kid shit, but it seriously is getting me down, and I don't know if I can find any help. Oh, what would you
I'll be your
suggest?
friend.
Yeah, see, we everyone in the comment section has got your back, right? I mean, everyone's experiencing. I mean, I think everyone is here that does listen or join in on this podcast is because they are in the same situation you are, and so I think you could definitely find a lot of friends in the comment section, and of course, like Max, myself, and Colossal all really see where you're coming from. But don't worry, you're probably quite young, and the friends that you have 2 years ago are most likely the friends you're not going to have 2 years later. Like after
You can never have
school,
too many of them.
Yeah,
That's one thing you can never have too much of.
When you graduated, do you still keep in touch with many of your, school friends, Ollie?
No, actually,
Yeah, exactly.
no, not.
So,
Unfortunately, I don't know. I suppose I am 28. What happens is you go out, you get a job, you get very involved in that job, and then you start doing other things, and then I started doing YouTube, etc., etc. And unfortunately, you just lose contact with a lot of people. And that's just one of those things that happens to most people when they reach a certain age. And it's kind of sad fact of life. Some people stay in contact with them, and Facebook was huge for this. It blew up, and a lot of the older generation started using it because they found their old friends and they reconnected with them. And that's part of the reason why Facebook was so popular.
Mm.
But I guess it just didn't really happen. I don't really resent it. Maybe one day I'll regret it, but I've made so many new friends that I don't see it as a big problem.
Have many of them been from online interaction, like from YouTube?
I mean, I've got a lot of friends that I met online from YouTube or Twitter or wherever. So that's great, but to be honest, most I've just met in real life, in business relationships or wherever, and just generated a friendship from that. To be honest, I'm quite happy to be friends with almost anyone as long as your name isn't FouseyTube. So I'm friends with Keemstar, so I can get on with Keemstar.
More or less.
More or less, yeah. I can get on with Leafius here, whoever. I can get on with anyone, I think. If you're willing to put the work in, you'll get something out of it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I will fight wars for you, Colossal.
What's that, sorry?
I'll fight wars for you if you just be my friend.
Sure, absolutely. Like I said, you can never have too many.
Thank you.
Mm. This next comment comes from a guy called Uncluded, and he says, "Don't know if it's backstabbing, but I'm a talk anyway. I used to have a really good friend. We'd talk for hours on end. I could tell her anything with confidence, and she wouldn't tell anyone. Once school started back up, our friendship started to sputter a bit, and it reached a point where we wouldn't speak at all. This lasted for about a month. She later texted me and apologized for ignoring me, and I felt a slight sense of relief because throughout our friendship, I'd been able to keep my depression at bay, but it started to set back in after we stopped talking. At that point, it seemed that our friendship was reignited. For about 3 weeks, she stopped replying to texts, stopped answering her phone, and purposely avoided me at school. It's been about 2 months now, and I've been going through some shit at home, and it feels like the best thing in the world would be to talk to her, but she's not there." Oh, that's rough. Jeez. Well, Max, do you want to respond to that?
I'm sorry.
It's sad. Well, I'm sure you could definitely find other people as well. Like, we can't really stress enough how, and I think someone replied, they say, "Uncluded, forget her. Had someone similar who did that to me. I said, fuck him. Have other, better friends." That's a great response.
I think that's some pretty good advice.
Yeah. That sucks. I mean, if anyone's willing to just ignore you for 2 months, like, they're not worth your time, really. And you don't deserve that.
She should do whatever makes her happy, I reckon.
Yeah.
So if that means cutting ties with her, absolutely, do that.
Alright, well, is there one last one I should quickly read? Okay, this is a nice one. Alright. I'm now a senior in high school, and I've recently taken a step back to look at my life, and I've been disappointed beyond belief. I believe there are multiple types of people. Smart people that don't mix well in the mainstream school system, people who are of lesser intelligence, who have the potential to become smart, and finally, plain stupid people with no redeeming qualities. This recent review of my life made me think of myself as a plain stupid person. Why? I currently live in a drug-filled, gang-infested horror of a school, with every other person having some sort of drug addiction, and for some reason, I'm doing just as bad as them. I work hard about 5 hours or after school, working and studying. I haven't touched a drug in my life, and for some reason, I have just as bad grades as people who don't even come to class. I haven't even got the guts to jump off, pull the trigger, or swallow the pill. I'm just fucking useless. As well of a job you guys have been doing, talking about how bad it is to be bullied, I feel like you've yet to address people who don't get noticed at all. People who are doomed to either kill themselves, turn to a life of crime, or just live their lives as a tired, old, and beating homeless person. Thank you for the podcast. That is it.
Well, that's an easy one, I think. It's to do with confidence, surely. Definite confidence issues.
Yeah.
And I think it factors in if you don't think you're doing good at school or whatever, your grades are bad. Well, it all comes back to confidence. If you don't think you can do it, then maybe there's a good chance that you won't. There was a study years and years ago, very good study, and they separated the kids at school. It's kind of an unfair study. You wouldn't be able to get away with it today, but they separated kids who had blue eyes and kids who had brown eyes, and everyone who had blue eyes. It was a study. It was an experiment, if you like, and kind of an unfair experiment. You wouldn't be able to do it today. But all the kids with blue eyes were told, "You're stupid. You're stupid," and the kids with brown eyes, "You're intelligent. You're intelligent." And over the course of a matter of weeks later, the grades which were stable from all the blue-eyed kids started to drop, and the grades from all the brown-eyed children started to rise. It's all about confidence. And if people tell you you're stupid, then you start to believe you are. And your grades, or whatever you do in life, starts to reflect that. If you believe it, it starts to happen. Don't believe it. Believe you're better, and there's a very good chance you will be better.
Yeah, and if people are telling you that kind of shit, like, honestly, you should, fuck them, because you need to be involved in an environment that kind of facilitates positive growth. And it's hard maybe for you to then involve yourself in this kind of environment, but whatever you can do for that situation. Like my sister, for example, is extremely clever, becoming a lawyer, but she's involved with these people who, they just smoke and they do a lot of drugs and just the wrong kinds of people. They're failing in all their courses, and she just needs to make that decision. She needs to step in the right direction. Otherwise, she could end up like that as well. So it's, your environment, your external environment definitely does affect your growth, But,
for sure.
Yeah.
If there's nothing you can do about your environment, it's not a big help. But there have been countless studies of people in very low income positions, very bad backgrounds, who have done exceedingly well. And in some cases, people take that position they're in, all the negativity, all the shit, and use that shit to grow, much like manure, And that's the positive way of looking at things.
Yeah.
I think. People rise from shit, as a plant does, I guess, if you like that analogy. And if you're a positive thinking person, or trying to be, then I think anyone can do that, no matter what situation they're in. I want to believe that. It's obviously that much harder than someone who's in a much better position, But it can be done. And I think if you really will it and want it to happen, I think it could. And I think it can. And I hope it will.
All right, well, I think that's pretty good. I think we've wrapped that up quite well. I think, thank you guys so very much for watching. Is there anything anyone else wants to really say before we say farewell to the podcast?
I want to say...
Go for it.
For that 10% of you who actually like me, or I guess in my case it would be a bit more, but because of the kind of content I make. But for you guys, thank you so much. I really do appreciate y'all who actually are the exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, same for me. The 10% of comments that I'm sorry I can't really read anymore, and the 10% of people who send me messages on Twitter, I like to think it's a bit more actually. I do greatly appreciate it, and maybe I don't say it enough, but you're certainly making me want to continue what I'm doing. If I didn't have it, I'd like to say I'd still do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's just an added incentive. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. And if you even, made it this far on the podcast, that's awesome, and we really want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to these. And we plan on doing more. We've been very busy and whatever. But please leave your comments if, talking about Betrayal, and your comment might be picked for the next video to read with whoever the next guest or whatever. But thank you so very much for listening. Thank you, Colossal, for joining on. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we'll see you guys in the next one. Toodles.
Cheers.